Hello and welcome to Boise State in the Community. I'm your host, Joel Norris, and this is a service learning class at Boise State, where we get to interview and speak to Boise State influencers today. And today our guest is someone who is very passionate about refugees and welcoming them into the Boise community. Please welcome Dr. April Mezrich. Welcome, Dr. Mezrich.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So you are quite busy. I was doing some research, and you've got a lot under your belt, not just being assistant professor at the college, but you are on a bunch of boards, just to name a few: the editorial board of the Journal of Youth and Adolescent, and the board member for Tidwell Social Work. So where do you have free time?
Well, I don't have that much free time, but when I do, I like to get outside, walk my dog, and go camping, go running in the trails. But I'm pretty busy.
Right.
Yeah.
Very much Boise. So all those, what is it? Oh yeah, all of those different things you're a part of at helping refugees and whatnot. Which one stands out the most to you?
Well, my work in the community, I serve on the board of directors for Tidwell Social Work, and they provide culturally sensitive, trauma-informed healthcare for all folks in the community, but they specialize primarily with refugee and immigrant families. And I work with them to promote the work that they do. We have community dinners every month where they're free, and people can come and eat together, learn from each other, make connections. That's probably the one that stands out the most that I've been working a lot on recently.
Nice. And what kind of connections have people made at these dinners?
Well, there's something special that happens when people sit down at a table together and share a meal. Just talking about the day or learning about each other's background. Everyone has to eat, and so making this a space where we all have to eat and connect with one another is something special.
You are very right. We all have to eat. Would you say that's some of a humanistic quality that brings us together?
Oh, totally. So because everyone has to eat, we often find ourselves gathering around the table, looking forward to meals, talking about meals, and sharing our values and traditions over meals.
Was there any one specific encounter you had at these luncheons where you really got to really connect on a deep level?
Sure, there's been a lot. So I've been doing this for the past couple of years, and every time I go, I meet someone new and also see some familiar faces. Most recently, the dinner that I attended, I met a gentleman who was new to Boise, coming from an African nation, and he shared with me his journey to get to Boise, Idaho, and his experiences so far in the community.
Wow, and now what has his experience been so far in Boise?
Well, he opened up to me actually quite easily and quickly after we connected over what was on our plate. He noticed that I didn't have any meat on my plate and asked if I was, a meat eater and why I didn't have any of the delicious lamb that was provided. And so that naturally got us connecting and communicating. And he said that he's had a difficult time trying to find a job. And so we got to talking, and I learned that the degree that he got in his country of origin was not recognized here in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And so he was having to start from the beginning and try to get into a university, but all of the classes that he had taken weren't transferring. And so I learned more about his challenges, and we connected in that way.
Wow, that's crazy with all that experience and still couldn't get a job in teaching.
Right.
Wow, that's a little mind-blowing there.
Right.
How often do you find that people have kind of the same kind of struggles?
It's actually quite common. A lot of people who have been educated in their country of origin, maybe as doctors or lawyers or educators, so teachers and counselors in their country, flee their home, not because they necessarily want to, but because of the well-founded fears of safety. And they arrive to Boise or some other resettlement community and try to get a job in their area of expertise where they've been working and where they've been trained in. And it's often a common story.
Wow, that's just, I mean, just from my perspective, I couldn't imagine going through all that. Would you say that there, I would say like barriers maybe stopping, preventing almost?
Yes, there are a lot of barriers that newcomers face when they're trying to rebuild their lives, find a job, find an affordable place to live, dealing with past traumas often. So the barriers are great, but there are also support systems in place. Whether they are easily accessible, that's another question. But
Yeah.
I would say there are many barriers, and other people would agree too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've focused a lot on those barriers, but I found it very interesting you were talking about the support there, and I kind of want to search more about that. Like, what kind of support are we talking about?
So when a refugee comes to their place of refuge, like Boise, there are resettlement agencies that receive funding from the government and from other organizations. The funding usually is only provided for about 8 months, and so there are 8 months of financial support. Now, refugees have to pay back their plane ticket, so the very first thing that they try to do is find a job. And so refugee resettlement agencies like the International Rescue Committee and Agency for New Americans here in Boise will try to find them jobs. Before they find jobs, though, they have to be proficient enough in English to go through some kind of interview process and develop a resume and all of that. And so there's a lot of training around English language development. So that's one, so the resettlement agencies are one place, the first place that these newcomers rely on. They actually go to the airport and have signs, welcoming signs, and welcome families as they get off of the plane, drive them to a hotel or their apartment, and help get them set up. But after that 8 months is over, they're on their own.
Oh, wow. There's no other support after that?
Well, there are supports out there in the community.
Oh, that's good.
Nonprofit organizations, much like Tidwell Social Work, and others as well, try to help extend the level of support after that 8 months of government financial support and assistance. So there are certainly supports out there. Of course, there could be more. And that's something that I'm trying to learn more about and be involved in, and get to know these families, so that in my research, so that we can share with stakeholders in the community who would like to support refugees, so that they can do their jobs better and develop programs and policies intended to support refugee families.
Wow. You're doing excellent work. I mean, just off your resume alone, you're doing wonderful things. You were talking about your research, though. For the viewers that don't know, what kind of research do you go into?
So I'm a developmental scientist, and so I study how people grow and change over time. I've focused a lot on the adolescent period, and particularly from adolescence into this emerging adulthood. Developmental period that's really interesting, going through these transitions as we grow and change over time.
And I'm going to stop you right there. We've got a break. We want to hear more about your research, but we're going to take a 2-minute break. So we'll be right back with Dr. Masarik here at Boise State in the community.
Looking at the big blue sky, thinking whether you and I will ever fall in love. I know for me, it'll be so. Thinking whether you and I will ever fall in love. I know for me, it'll be so.
Hello, and welcome back to Boise State in the community. I'm here with Dr. Masarik. Now, Dr. Masarik, we were before the break talking about your research. Did you want to elaborate more on that?
Right, so basically I study individuals, how they change over time in various contexts. So in the family, in the school, in the community, particularly stress and resilience. So how individuals cope with stress, what promotes resilience in the face of stress, and how earlier stress predicts future outcomes in development, and how coping can buffer stress pathways. And I've done this kind of work in various, in different groups. So in graduate school, I studied white rural farm families and families from a Mexican immigrant background living in California. And now I'm trying to learn more about our refugee community here in Boise.
Wow, you have you're in every pocket there. Exciting. How does that translate to the classes you teach here at the university at Boise State?
Well, to make my time, to be efficient with all of the duties that I have in teaching, research, and service, I try to integrate all three of those together. And so in my classes, I teach developmental classes, child development, for example. I also teach a multicultural perspectives course on children and families. And because I'm working in the community as a community member, but also as an assistant professor, and I'm also teaching here at the university, I have my students work in the community as well.
Wow, that's
so
great.
They're in a service learning class, much like you are in right now, but my students are going out into agencies like the International Rescue Committee or Agency for New Americans in the school districts with Boise School District and West Ada School District, in the YMCAs, and at Girl Scouts and the English Language Center. I partner with a lot of different community organizations, and they work with us. And the students learn about the community, they learn about child development, they learn about having an open mind and shifting their perspectives in terms of what they think might be normal development or normal family function. And they bring that learning in the community back into the classroom and share with each other what they've learned. And it really enriches the whole classroom space.
So since you're talking about what is considered normal out in the classroom or even outside of the classroom, what do you tell your students who are coming in that don't really have a concept of like normal refugees?
Well, so normal, right, is culturally defined. It's context specific, and so what I tell my students is to go out into the community and be active listeners and observers of children, of adolescents, of adults, of family dynamics, to also pay attention to how programs and policies work, and to essentially just listen and to be open to ideas outside of their own. Because we all come into classrooms or into the spaces that we occupy with all sorts of ideas and beliefs about what's normal and what's right and what's wrong. I really encourage my students to be aware of those values that they have and to challenge them based on what they learn from other people. So a lot of students might not have ever interacted with someone who came from a different country, and that's a very new experience for them. And so I encourage, ask, and facilitate this understanding of differences, and not only understanding differences, but to appreciate and celebrate differences, whatever they might be.
And that's all just amazing on top of it. For any student out there watching right now that wants to just be a part of this and just this like getting to know other cultures, really making an impact in their community, what classes could they take from you?
Well, they can certainly take my Multicultural Perspectives course on children and families. It's Psych 419. I teach it every fall. They could certainly take that class if that's of interest to them. I also teach a child development class, Psych 309, and we do talk about cultural influences on child development, ways in which parents go about their parenting based on culture. So they're more than welcome to join in on those classes. And really the bottom line here is to care about the communities in which we all occupy space. And when individuals, whether they're children, adolescents, adults, or family units, a natural human desire is to want to feel a part of the community, to feel welcome in these spaces. And so being a welcoming community citizen will help promote a more healthy community. And of course, healthy communities are made up of individuals, and so we really talk about that in our classes, individuals who are growing and changing from the moment of conception till our very last breath.
Nice. I mean, it's all fantastic. Welcoming people. I only have a little experience with refugees as well. I went to a church where we promoted that, and I actually grew up with a bunch of people. So just to hear like your passion about welcoming people, it just has a humanistic quality. It's even like making me tear up because I'm thinking of those people who are coming in like wherever from the Congo, because a lot of people from Boise come here. I know that, and just to see your passion is it's quite amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, less on a serious note, I have to know what is that button for?
Oh, this button was made by the International Rescue Committee. It says "Refugees Welcome," and I'm wearing it because I wear it in my class, not every day, but I wore it today. I have a Refugees Welcome sign outside my office, as well as other welcoming signs to welcome all students. So not just refugee students, but all students. I think it's like the little things, the little messages that, sure, this isn't a little pin, but it's a simple message that says that you're welcome, and that goes a long way. And research shows that, and I see it in my classroom, I see it out in the community.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I feel like I see like less of those and more like daunting, like the ones I've seen are like refugees not first or whatnot. So to see like a pin like that, just like you're saying, it might be a small message, but it does have a larger impact.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. But I have another question for you. Is talking about all the great things welcoming refugees into the community and such. What have you seen like a hesitance at all, and just in this state?
Oh yes. So I guess in my free time I go to the Capitol and do peaceful protests and engage in those ways. And at those peaceful protests, are we okay on time?
You know what? We are just wrapping up, but I want to thank you for this wonderful conversation. This has been Dr. Masarik with us, and I want to thank my director, Max Myers, my producer, Christy Amstead, and our amazing crew. Our next show will have my colleague Kayla, we have Kayla, I can't pronounce her last name. I apologize, Kayla. With Professor Hansen, and with her work in the nonprofit sector in the community. Thank you for joining us at Boise State in the Community. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.